Alright, lads and ladies, it's that time again where I am 2 days late on a Last of Us episode review yet again because of work. Fun stuff. So, I'm not going to have any real setup for this. We're going to roll right into it. Going to do what I did last time. I'm going to go scene by scene or note by note as I wrote down and talk about kind of what happened in the show, my thoughts on it, what was good, what was bad, what I thought worked, what I thought didn't work. I am a big fan of The Last of Us 1. Not The Last of Us Part 2. I don't like Naughty Dog. I don't like, besides The Last of Us, I don't think anything they've done since Jak and Daxter was great. Except for The Last of Us. I think Uncharted was, about my pop filter. I think Uncharted was okay at best. And I think The Last of Us 2 was a disaster. So it only makes sense for the biggest Naughty Dog hater out there to talk about their TV series. How good is it? Well, let's go ahead and dive right into this. So we open up, similar to last episode, on something that takes place before the infection, although it's a bit more recent this time. Last time it was in the 60s. This time it is literally at the beginning of the infection. In Indonesia, where the whole thing came from. Jakarta, to be exact. So basically, the lady is having breakfast or lunch at a diner, and the military comes and gets her, and she's like, have I committed a crime? No. This scene builds the tension, pretty decently. And then she gets there, she cuts open that person's wound, and what does she see? She sees the cordyceps right there. And then, she pulls the cordyceps out of that person's mouth, and it starts moving towards her, because it can tell where the resources are. This scene is awesome. And then, they go to her and say, yo, listen, you're an expert. You've been studying this your whole life. We need a cure, we need a vaccine, we need medicine, we need a preventative, we need something. What can we do? And she says, you have to bomb this city and everyone in it, because it can't go anywhere else. Because they said earlier that there's 14 people out there that unaccounted for, they're unaccounted for, right? But they're infected, right? They're unaccounted for because they're infected. She says you have to bomb this city and everyone in it. You have to try your best to stop it right here. And we know that doesn't work, but it's so scary in a way to hear the words, you have to bomb this city and everyone in it, from a scientist, being realistic. And it works, right? This is an extinction level event. And the only way to stop it is to bomb everything. You have to clear everything out. This scene was fantastic, right? Just as good as the scene from the last episode setting up the whole, what if the fungus began to grow in humans, or could survive in humans, right? Really great scene. Then we catch up with Ellie, Joel, and Tess in the QZ, and I have to say, Joel was very jumpy in this show. In the original, he doesn't trust Ellie and what she's saying, but he never comes off as jumpy or nervous or spooked about anything. He's very jumpy in this. I wouldn't say it's uncharacteristic, but it's kind of off-putting in a way to see him act so I wouldn't even say cautious. It is jumpy, right? She makes a sudden move of any kind, he jumps back and points the gun at her, literally every time. It's a little bit, I can't say it's a negative for Pedro Pascal's Joel, but it's definitely something I noticed. Also, Ellie kind of isn't funny. In The Last of Us 1, she's funny. In this, for the most part, she's just kind of an asshole. She has a good line every now and then, like when she asks for a gun and they say no, and she says, fine, I'll just throw a sandwich at them. Funny line, haha, really good. That whole interaction with them was pretty good, I thought, them asking, why did they have you? How did they test you? She had to go to the bathroom, tear a few pages out of this magazine for toilet paper. Disgusting. You know what was disgusting? Seeing that corpse earlier in the episode, and she was naked, seeing everything, bush and all. It was horrible. Seeing old George W. there was terrible. Oh god. Anyways, back on topic here. Ellie just kind of isn't that funny. There are some times where she is, and sometimes where she really isn't. So they talk and they progress through trying to get to the Capitol building. I will say it's going much smoother than it did in the game. Which I guess that makes a little more sense. It's a video game, so it has to be a 10th level. So I think it makes a bit more sense. They're walking on the bridge, and then there's something that I started to notice with this. So this show kind of has the same issue that the movie Logan had. It's very obscure, but when I say it, you'll notice it. So in the movie Logan, they finally got an R-rated Wolverine movie, and what did they do with that? They dropped the F-bomb every other sentence for no reason other than they could, right? And it became very distracting when he would just say it, when it was like, you could have found a billion different ways to phrase that sentence, and you chose the most obvious one to say that just because you can. Now, and I'm not going to go super dad mode or anything like that. Yeah, the 20-year-old's going dad mode. No, it doesn't bother me that bad, but it is distracting, right? Like, it'll take me out of the scene and think, yeah. It's like they've substituted every other swear word with just that one, and it's kind of obvious and a little annoying. But again, it's not that big of a deal, you know. It's really not. It's just something that I started to notice over time. And a little bit later, they look down at the street and they see just swarms of infected laying in the street, just writhing. And this is something that's not found in the original game. Usually infected are like, there's a couple of them together, they're off on their own, or they're just kind of wandering around aimlessly. They never felt like a hive mind like they do in this show. They're all connected. They're all writhing in a big area of fungus, just like I said, just writhing around, you know, snarling and crying and everything that they do in the game. They're just doing it all in one place, gathered there, probably just living off the fungus. It's a different thing, you know. They're definitely doing the infected differently in the show. Do I think it's bad? We'll have to see more to know for sure. It's definitely different, though. I do like what they said about how the fungus is all connected, you know. There's some of these lines of fungus and cordyceps stretch over miles, you know. You can step on, they said their exact words were, you could step on a patch of cordyceps here and then wake up fungus on the other side of the city. Oh yeah, wake up fungus and infected on the other side of the city who are coming for you, right? It's a hive mind, you know. They and then I'm assuming, like, if one infected sees you, they all see you, right? Think of it like for any weebs watching this, think of it like in Naruto, where how the trick was to beat the 6 paths of pain. They all have a visual link. Think of it kind of like that. I'm pretty sure that if one infected sees you, they probably all start to see you, or they probably all know where you are. Really cool detail there. I really like the whole hive mind thing they're going for with the infected. At first, I wasn't very sure about it, but now I'm getting a bit more confident in that, I think, until something later. We'll get to it in a minute. So the path is eventually blocked, and what do we have to do? We have to go through the museum from the first game, from the original game, and what's here? The clickers. These clickers were perfect. These things were terrifying. The movement was just as jerky and twitchy and spastic as it needed to be. The sounds were just, yeah, they're sound files ripped from the game, which they work fine here. The movement was great. They were terrifying. Although in a couple shots, they definitely do look like someone wearing a prosthetic. There's a couple shots in particular where Joel shines a light on them, and they really do look like someone wearing a prosthetic, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but I don't know. I feel like there could have been a bit more polish in the scene, or just something to kind of hide that. Because it definitely is obvious in a couple cases, but it looked great. The clickers were terrifying. They were one-to-one exactly like the game. Something worth noting earlier that I kind of forgot to mention was that Ellie had brought up, you know, big fat infected that throws cordyceps spores on you. Big patches of cordyceps spores. And it's interesting that they said spores because, you know, what, are bloaters still going to do that? We know there's no spores in this, so what, do they throw a patch of spores that just dissipate immediately? Or are they throwing some sort of tendrils at you? You know, you never know. We'll have to see when that comes. But it is interesting that they did bring up bloaters and spores, you know? So we'll have to see how that shakes out eventually. So they fight off these clickers in this area, which is a great fight scene. And this is where I kind of have to bring up an issue. Tess isn't really, like, super badass like she is in the game. She just kind of, she just, you know, just, She's just kind of a character that she's very clearly there just for the sake of getting through it. Like, Tess is much more of a plot device in this show than she is in the game. In the game, she's basically the ringleader of the whole thing that's going on. She's badass. She kills soldiers. She kills infected. Everything like that. In this, she's much more of a plot device. You know, she's the one like, oh, come on, Joel, don't you want to do this for me, man? Let's go ahead and do this, man. You know, all that sort of thing. I wouldn't say she's necessarily bad, but I would definitely say she did not get as much love as she needed. You know, the show's goal, I think, is to really expand on things that the game didn't have time for, and the fact that it didn't choose to expand on Tess in much of a way at all, and instead took away some of the cooler things about her, it's kind of annoying, right? It definitely is, and she is definitely less badass in this show, 100%. Like, she's definitely much more of a plot device. I would say that's borderline objective, that she is much more of a plot device in this show. And this brings up my next issue. This isn't technically an issue with the episode, more of an issue with the show. So Neil Druckmann, or the boy Cuckman, as we say around these parts, had said that they actually had like a whole lore for Tess planned, where she had a husband and a son that died, that were infected. She had to kill the husband, but she couldn't bring herself to kill the son. She had to lock the son away, and the son is probably a clicker now, according to them. So, and they said they didn't show this. I don't know why they didn't show this, but they didn't. And I have to say, in a show where you are going to expand upon literally everything from the original game, like I said, a lot of the stuff that the game didn't have time for, Ellie's mother is going to get something special, a character that means literally nothing to this universe other than she birthed Ellie, who just so happened to be immune. She means nothing else, is getting special treatment. But Tess, someone who could have really used it, is on the cutting room floor. This is abhorrent decision making. So now that that's out of the way, horrible decision making, right? Why would you leave that on the cutting room floor? Stupid. I don't understand it. Something else I saw which really annoyed me, I'll count this as a net negative for the show too. They said they were originally considering not having infected in the show. And I know they also said that Joe and them are going to fight less clickers to make them more terrifying, when you see them. I 100% agree with this decision. Clickers kind of wear off on you by the end of the game because, it's like, okay. They're some of the easiest enemy types in the game because they can't see you. So I 100% agree with this decision, but that first one, I'm glad someone come in and smacked whoever thought that up in the face. I hope they fired them. I don't know if it was Neil Druckmann, if it was Mazin, I don't know who it was. It was a terrible idea. I hope they got fired. It's terrible. Awful. Way to neuter your show all about the infection by having none of the infection there. But there's just something, a little bit of a tangent. So Tessa's whole backstory, cutting room floor. Get that out of here. Who needs it? It's not relevant information. It's very important that we make sure Ashley Johnson, I think her name is, has the role of Ellie's mother. Very important. Very, very important. Stupid. I won't understand that. But so after this whole clicker thing, it's pretty much an easy straight shot to the Capitol building. We get there. What happened? And Joel puts it best. The healthy people fought the sick people. Everyone lost. Some of the Fireflies got infected and everybody died, except for one guy who's just barely alive. He reaches out to grab them. They kill him, and again, just like they had mentioned earlier, great foreshadowing from earlier, the Cordyceps crawl over him, and they can tell he's dead, and what did they do? They let that whole swarm of infected from earlier know, hey, there are people here, and then they all go get them. Really cool stuff. Great foreshadowing. Really glad they did that. Very, very cool scene. So at this point, Tess has revealed to them that she is infected. This plays out more or less just like the game does. She coerces Joel into taking Ellie with them, and instead of it being military guys that show up for her to fight off this time, there are no military. It's just the infected. Now this definitely, I think, makes more sense. The military just kind of show up in the game, like not really any reason. Like, we haven't seen the military for like 6 hours in game time, I'm pretty sure by this point, but they're just here inexplicably. So I think it makes more sense to use the infected, to use the callback from earlier. Very good decision making on that one. So what does Tess do? She pours out a bunch of oil and gas onto the floor, grenades, the works, and says, I'm gonna keep them from getting to you. Now this death scene should be really great. This death scene is weird. So basically, I have to calm down and try and rationalize this because this is so weird. So Joel and Ellie just peace out, right? Tess backs into the corner of the room so the infected won't see her immediately. Neat detail here. You notice all the runners didn't see her? That's because if the runners work like normal infected insects, they are very tunnel visioned. They don't have basically any peripheral vision. They see what is in front of them. And it's very neat that the stalker of the bunch was actually the one to notice her, because the stalkers are much more aware of their surroundings than the normal runners are. Very cool detail. I like that a lot. So I'm assuming the way this scene plays out, I'm assuming the stalker can tell that she has some of the fungus, whatever, same thing. Some of the cordyceps already in her. I'm assuming that he can tell that because he didn't just maul her to death. So she backs into the corner. She's trying to flick the lighter and get the flame going so she can just blow the whole place up. And Stalker comes forward. The tendrils come out of his mouth to infect her. And instead of biting, this was the weirdest thing. He just inexplicably kisses her. This is the weird. This almost felt like a fetish scene. I am a solid 80% sure this scene was here for a fetish of some kind. It's gotta be. It's got to be. Okay? This was the weirdest thing ever. And then, of course, then she flicks the lighter, gets the flame going, throws it down, kaboom. Everything blows up. So that was super weird. I have to say, that was very, very strange. I'm not sure how to end this episode off, how to end this review off, because this episode was structured very differently from the last one. Talking overall about the episode now, I'm going to say it was okay. So here's what I'll say so far about the show. As a TV watcher, I am entertained. I am liking what I am seeing as a TV show watcher, right? As a fan of the game, I'm alright with it, right? It's not insulting. It's not. I wouldn't say it's great, but I would say it counts as good. I would say I don't think it counts as very good, but I would say as a TV show fan, as just a TV watcher, I am entertained. I am happy with what I'm seeing. As a fan, I'm alright with it. I wouldn't say I'm very impressed by a lot of it so far, except for the clicker prosthetics, which look very good. But yeah, so. This episode definitely didn't have the pacing issues of the last one. The last one had really weird pacing, but that's kind of the byproduct of having to dedicate the first 30 minutes to, day one of the infection. This one didn't have to do that, so it was able to just kind of pace itself in a much better way. Pacing was very, very much fixed, but there were a lot of weird parts in this I definitely didn't. Mostly character moments and portrayals and how they kind of change things. There was a lot of weird stuff in this. I wouldn't say much of this was particularly bad, but I would say there was a lot of strange stuff in this. Again, it's not bad, but would I say it's as good as the last one? Probably not. Despite the fact the last one had a lot of pacing issues, I overall felt it was better. So settling on a score for this episode, I'm going to be giving this a 7 out of 10. It was a fine episode, right? The way I saw Tyrell Magnus put it like this, and I very much agree with him. The way this show is going, I'm going to enjoy watching it, but I'm probably not going to want to watch it again for a very long time when it's done, because I'm just not going to enjoy it that much. You know what I'm saying? For example, the first show that comes to my mind, this ain't The Boys, alright? If you're expecting something as good as The Boys, it's not this. I'm sorry. But, yeah. Anyways, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know what you thought of this episode. You think I'm wrong? You think I'm a Muppet? You think I'm way off on this? Is the Naughty Dog hater just doing his thing again? Is this the perfect adaptation? Do we really have to pretend that every time The Last of Us does literally anything, it breaks the mold and is fantastic? Do we really have to go through this dance again? We had to pretend like The Last of Us 2 was the best sequel ever. We had to pretend like The Last of Us remake was the best remake ever, when in fact it's just a texture pack. And now what, we have to pretend like this is the best TV show ever? Really? Come on now. Anyways, let me not get off on a tangent. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, subscribe. Join my Discord server linked in the comment section down below. And yeah, that's going to do it. Thank you for watching. I say this a lot. Just end this video here. My name is Carmen, but I go by Ellism on YouTube, and that's going to do it. Y'all take it easy.